I am woman, hear me roar, in number too big to ignore, and I know too much to go back to pretend. 'Cause I've heard it all before, and I've been down there on the floor. No one's ever gonna keep me down again. Oh yes, I am wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I paid the price, but look how much I gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am invincible, I am woman.
Good Sunday morning to you. It's nice to have all of you here with us. It's a small but mighty crowd, I like to say. So we're glad to see each and every one of you here. Few just quick reminders. Our offering basket is on the back table. We won't be passing that, so find that on your way out. We certainly would appreciate that. Welcome to those who are watching online. We really encourage you to find out more about us at athinkingchurch.org. And we also really encourage you to help us continue these broadcasts by donating. There's a donate button in the top right-hand corner. We would very much appreciate that. And it's also fun to know where everyone's watching for. It helps helps us all kind of feel like we're gathering together. And it takes people from around the world and lets us know that we still are creating this community together. So please leave where you're watching from in the comments section. We're going to begin this morning with a couple of readings. The first one is from Scripture, the Gospel of Mark. I'll be reading chapter 12, verses 30 and 31. And by request of one of our church members, I'm reading from the King James Version, and the church member isn't here. And I'm going to say again later that I'm doing something by request, and so far they're not here either. But this is the King James Version of the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, 30 through 31. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment, and the second is like it, namely this: thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. May we have blessing and understanding to the reading of those words. I also have a reading, and it's a kind of a convoluted. It comes from various sources that ultimately come together. It starts with Micah, one of my favorite scriptures from Micah. But then the final part is coming from Barbara J. McClure's book, Moving Beyond Individualism in Pastoral Care and Counseling. And here's where it's complicated. She's actually quoting Rabbi Randy Shapiro from his book, Wisdom of the Jewish Sages, which is a modern reading of Pirkei Avot. Now, all of that is going to take longer than the reading that I have for you. And it says this. I like her take because of the order she put it in. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justice now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it.
opened a bank account when I was 9 years old. I closed it when I was 18. I gave them every penny that I saved, and they gave my blood and my urine a number. And now I'm sitting in this waiting room, playing with the toys. I am here to exercise my freedom of choice. I passed their handheld signs, I went through their picket lines, I gathered when they saw me coming, shouted when they saw me cross. I said, why don't you go home? Leave me alone, I'm just another woman lost. You are like fish in the water who don't know that they are wet. As far as I can tell, the world isn't perfect yet. And his bored eyes were obscene, on his denim thighs a magazine. I wish he'd never come here with me. In fact, I wish he'd never come near me. I wish his shoulder wasn't touching mine. I am growing older, waiting in this line. But some of life's best lessons are learned at the worst times. And underneath the fierce fluorescence, she offered her hand for me to hold. She offered stability and calm, and I was crushing her palm through the pinch pull, wincing up my smile, unconvincing on that sterile battlefield that sees only casualties, never heroes. My heart absolute zero. And Lucille, your voice still sounds in me. Yeah, mine was a relatively easy tragedy. The profile of our country looks a little less hard-nosed, but you know that picket line persisted, and that clinic since been closed. They keep pounding their fists on reality, hoping it will break. You know, I don't think there's one of them who lives a life free of mistakes. Yes, I'm not gonna sacrifice my freedom of choice. No, you can't make me sacrifice my freedom of choice. No, you can't make us sacrifice our freedom of choice.
Thank you for that, Stephanie. Many of you know, hopefully all of you know actually, that voting day comes up on Tuesday. If you haven't already voted yet, I actually suspect that most of the folks in here early voted, which is fantastic. So most of you, or some of you I know, will be glad to know that means that this is the last Sunday, at least for a little bit, where Mark is very political. But Mark will be very political today. But in this particular case, I'm going to do something I don't do a lot of. Someone, when I gave a message earlier this year, asked me to please repeat that message before voting day. And then this week, I had two different people vaguely reference it and say, oh, we're going to hear it again. So I've gone back and reworked it a bit and even given it a new title. But today's message is entitled, Vote for Choice, Vote for Love. This summer, the Supreme Court of the United States of America made a ruling that ended Roe versus Wade. And in making that ruling, they took away the rights from a majority of people in the U.S. And as I understand it, in its history, the U.S. Has never had a Supreme Court remove rights from that many Americans. Now, in making the ruling, they betrayed what the Declaration of Independence called the unalienable right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in making that ruling, they relegated an already marginalized group even further into being treated as second-class citizens. They brazenly ignored the oath of their office, which is to administer justice, and instead administered the autocratic desires of a particular group of elected officials. They used an intentionally corrupted understanding of Christianity to make a decidedly unloving and unjust decision, which is markedly unchristian thing to do. The thing is, even the very conservative Southern Baptist Church has known for most of its existence that an anti-choice stance is an anti-Christian stance. You see, you've got to remember that the Southern Baptist Church passed resolutions in 1971, 74, and 76, which endorsed access to abortion, going as far as saying that the government should play a limited role in the issue. The thing is, while abortion wasn't that big of an issue for white evangelicals, racism was, white supremacy was, and desegregation was. And they just happened to realize that they couldn't effectively run on that platform anymore. So after years of sort of calculating this out, they discovered that the thing they could win the South with and divide the masses with was abortion. As Methodist minister David Barnhart has pointed out, the unborn are a convenient group of people to advocate for. They never make demands of you. They are morally uncomplicated. Unlike the incarcerated, addicted, and the chronically poor, they don't resent your condescension or complain that you are not politically correct. And unlike widows, they don't ask you to question the patriarchy. Unlike orphans, they don't need money, education, or child care. Unlike aliens, they don't bring all that racial, cultural, and religious baggage that you don't like. They allow you to feel good about yourself without any work at creating or maintaining relationships. And when they are born, you can just forget about them because they cease to be unborn. He then goes on to say, you can love the unborn and advocate for them without substantially challenging your own wealth, power, and privilege, without reimagining social structures, apologizing, or making reparations to anyone. They are, in short, the perfect people to love if you want to claim you love Jesus, but actually dislike people who breathe. Prisoners, immigrants, the sick, the poor, widows, orphans. All of the groups that are specifically mentioned in the Bible, they get thrown under the bus for the unborn. That's the thing. Being anti-choice is almost always framed as a Christian perspective, but it simply is not. As I've said before, if anything, it's the opposite of what the Bible says. The Bible has actually very little to say directly about abortion. And if anything, says that life begins at first breath, not at conception. And it values the mother's life over the fetus life. You can find that in Genesis and in Exodus. However, let me remind you, as I have before, you really ought not to be using books that are thousands of years old to be making healthcare decisions. But if you do want to use your Bible to inform your thoughts on abortion, there is one biblical perspective that I actually very strongly believe that you should use. And that perspective is the overarching message of what the Christian faith is supposed to be about. It is the biblical hermeneutic of love. As Mark records Jesus saying in today's reading, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other law greater than this." So, let's do this. Let's apply that core understanding, that core question of is it loving, to some facts about abortion. It is a fact that for men, if they so choose, their sex life does not risk their future. It's also a fact that lack of access to safe abortion prevents women from that same reality. Among other things, not having your sex life risk your plans for your future makes a person more fully capable of having life in liberty and the pursuit of happiness. So if the question is it loving? Then I ask you, is it loving to deny anyone that kind of hope, happiness, and future? It is a fact that legal abortions recognize a woman's right to full bodily autonomy rather than having fewer rights than the fetus. If the question is it loving? Then I ask you, is it loving to deny anyone that kind of recognition and the rights that come along with it? It is a fact that access to safe abortion prevents medical harm and even death. The fact is that women are about 14 times more likely to die during or after having given birth than to die from complications of abortions. If the question is it loving? Then I ask you, is it loving to deny anyone care that could save their lives? It is a fact that people who receive abortions are less likely to have mental health issues than those who wish to have an abortion but are denied that right. If the question is it loving? Then I ask you, is it loving to deny access to a future with better mental health? It is a fact that people who are denied abortions are more likely to become unemployed, to be on public welfare, to be below the poverty line, and to become victims of domestic violence. It's a fact. And if the question is it loving, then I ask you, is it loving to deny anyone that kind of care that helps ensure a life that is not so unnecessarily full of life-altering struggles? It is also a fact that banning abortion creates a system that favors the rich, who I promise you will continue to get safe abortions. And because of the economic disparity in the U.S., it also makes it a racial issue. If the question is it loving? And I do believe that is basically the most important question the Bible asks us. Then I ask you, is it loving to deny people access to safe and needed health care based on their financial status or their race? The fact is that Jesus primarily taught about love, equality, justice, and compassion. That means that those of us who understand ourselves as followers of the teachings of Jesus must recognize that none of us will truly be free until we learn that our humanity is all tied up in treating others humanely. And not only that, but also then acting out of that understanding, calling out injustices every time we see them, working towards equality for all people, asking the question, is it loving? And doing the work it takes to ensure that no one is treated as if they are a second-class citizen, that no one is used as a pawn in the powerful political chess match, that no one is put into the place of choosing between risking their health and happiness so that they won't become a felon. Doing the work to ensure that no one is left to pursue an unsafe abortion in the back alleys where mortality rates skyrocket. And the fact is, access to safe abortions is a question of religious freedom, which makes the lack of access to safe abortions a First Amendment issue. In that, it restricts the ability of Christians to follow the teachings of Jesus. We must remember that the central teachings of Jesus is that we are to call, as followers, we are called to help the poor and the marginalized and the sick. And the fact is that 75% of the folks who seek abortions are low income. So ending access to safe abortion hurts the poor. It does not help them as Jesus taught us to do. That's an issue of religious freedom. And not only that, restricting access to safe abortion disproportionately impacts marginalized communities, including people of color and LGBTQ folks. And as followers of the teachings of Jesus, that is the opposite of what we are called to do. That is an issue of religious freedom. And it's also true that study after study have shown that the lack of access to safe abortions can put a woman's physical and mental health at risk, and even carrying a pregnancy to terms can be a health risk for some women. Jesus taught us to care for the sick. Laws that ensure more women will be dealing with physical and mental illness are the opposite of that. That is an issue of religious freedom. So let's talk about a few things that you can do right now. If you live in a state where abortions are still legal, like we do in North Carolina, volunteer to be an escort at a local clinic, like my wife and I do. We were just there yesterday. And if that's physically difficult for you to do, consider just making a donation to them. Also, educate yourself and others. It's not enough to get angry. Get smart. After all, Proverbs tells us that wisdom is the thing that God delights in daily. The more facts we know and the more we educate those around us, the more likely we are to have an understanding nation on this issue. As a matter of fact, take what you learn and go educate your elected officials through phone calls and letters. And for those of us watching on a broadcast who live in states that have abortion bans, contact your attorney general's office. Ask them to commit to not prosecuting folks around this issue of abortion. This is not political. This is spiritual. This is humane. This is moral. So don't let up until they promise. And for all of us, go to every rally you can go to. And there will be plenty. My wife and I attended one on the very day that Roe v. Wade was shot down. Go because the bigger the rally, the more politicians and more media outlets will pay attention to it. Go because the speakers will likely teach you something. Go because you love people and want to follow your call to love your neighbor as yourself. And if you can't go, donate to the groups that organize those events. Like I said, donate. Donate to organizations that will not only be working towards righting the wrongs, but also those that will be helping folks secure safe abortions and who are working towards educating the public. And as I always come back to, vote. This week, I can't emphasize enough the importance of that vote. If you've not already voted, please make a plan to vote on Tuesday and make it happen. Not only that, help others to get registered and help them get to the polls. You see, the majority of Americans believe in the right to reproductive choice, almost 80%. But we have yet to do the work needed to elect officials to represent the will of the American people. This midterm election is probably the most important midterm election in the history of our nation. Get out and vote. The question is it loving? Is it loving? The anti-choice stance is not only not loving, it is downright dangerous. It is controlling. It preys on the poor. It is marginalizing. It puts women's health at risk. It doesn't recognize women as people with full autonomy over their own bodies. It is immoral, inhumane, and anti-Christian. We, you and I, must do what it takes, whatever it takes, to protect the ones we love, because that is the loving thing to do. And as followers of the teachings of Jesus, it is not simply what we are called to do, but it is what we must do until justice, equality, and love prevail.
You know, the abortion issue has everything to do with sexual harassment, sexual violence, the commercially accepted and very profitable sexual objectification of women, domestic violence, gun rights, and the Me Too movement. Backlash for the Me Too movement, the way mass incarceration was backlash for the civil rights movement. This song was performed by a collection of diverse female musical artists at the Grammy Awards in 2018. Introducing this song, Janelle Monáe said, "We come in peace, but we mean business." The women, including Cyndi Lauper, Andra Day, and the Resistance Revival Chorus, were singing in support of the central artist, the songwriter Kesha, who is the victim of being drugged and raped by her music producer, Dr. Luke, in 2005 when she was 18 years old. She's alleging subsequent sexual harassment and gender discrimination in addition to the violent crimes. She's been in a legal battle for more than a decade. He has countersued her for defamation based upon a text she sent to Lady Gaga. The New York Manhattan Court and Appellate Court upheld Dr. Luke's claim for defamation. And most recently, Kesh has been forbidden from bringing critical evidence supporting her claims, specifically handwritten notes by her lawyer from 2005 corroborating her claims of being drugged and raped by Dr. Luke. The American courts seem to be siding with him, not her. And in 2018, Kesh's song lost the Best Song Award to Ed Sheeran's song called The Shape of You. I say this again, American misogyny is real. Well, you almost had me fooled. Told me that I was nothing without you. Oh, but after everything you've done, I can thank you for how strong I have become. 'Cause you brought the flames and you put me through hell. I had to learn how to fight for myself. And we both know all the truth I could tell. I'll just say this is, I wish you farewell. I hope you're somewhere praying. I hope your soul is changing. I hope you find your peace falling on your knees. Praying. I'm proud of who I am. No more monsters, I can breathe again. And you said that I was done. Well, you were wrong, and now the best to come. 'Cause I can make it on my own. Oh, and I don't need you. I found the strength I've never known. I've been through and I've been burned. Oh, when I'm finished, they won't even know your name. You brought the flames, you put me through hell. I had to learn how to fight for myself. And we both know all the truth I could tell. I'll just say this is, I wish you farewell. I hope you're somewhere praying. I hope your soul is changing. I hope you find your peace falling on your knees. Oh, sometimes I pray for you at night. Oh, someday maybe you'll see the light. Oh, some say in life you're gonna get what you give, but some things only God can forgive. I hope you're somewhere praying. I hope your soul is changing. I hope you find your peace falling on your knees.
I hope you're somewhere praying. I hope your soul is changing. Many of you know, as I put together my book of prayers, I continue to understand prayer in broader ways. And frequently when we come to this moment, I ask you to accept this prayer as a meditation, if that is better for you, or to just grab the words that are best for you, or to pray along with it. Today we're going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to ask those of you who prefer types of meditation to accept this, and those who prefer prayer, accept this bit of meditation reading as a prayer if you so choose. It's by the Reverend Julia Hamilton, and it's entitled Abortion as a Blessing. Let's bow our heads. Abortion is not just a deeply personal choice and a fundamental right, but it can also be a blessing. It is a life-saving medical procedure. It is a choice that can help heal from violence. It is a doorway to a different life. It is a blessing to so many people who, for whatever reason, are not in a position to have a child. So I say thank you and bless you to all those doctors and nurses and clinicians who have provided abortion care, often at great personal risk. I say thank you and bless you to all those who have stood at the doors of clinics and escorted patients with love and compassion in the face of hate and shame. I say thank you and bless you to all the friends, partners, and family members who have supported loved ones through the process. I say thank you and bless you to all the elected officials, activists, and organizers who fight year after year to keep abortion legal, safe, and available to all who need it. And I say thank you and bless you to all of you here today who have had an abortion. You are loved and supported in your choice and in the life that you live today because of that choice. As we go forth from this moment and out into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, we are renewed by the strength we have found in one another. We will fight shame with love. We will fight violence with compassion. And we will fight language of domination with songs of liberation and grace. And we know that we are not singing alone. Amen. Receive this blessing. May you walk in harmony with each other and with creation, recognizing that we are one. And may you know love and happiness throughout your life, and through your words and actions, may others know that love and happiness as well.
Emmy Valley 2021, inspired by Helen Reddy. I am fearless, I am sexy, I'm divine, I'm unbeatable, I'm creative,